All right. Well, I'd like to welcome you to the first session here at MPEC this year. And my name is Sean Glumace. I'm an instructor at Golden West College. I'm also one of the Adobe education leaders. Actually, my area is mostly Southern California. So if you're in the SoCal area, talk to me about the Adobe stuff. What I'm going to go through today is something I've been doing for almost 14 years now, which is I record every single thing I do in my classroom. And what the biggest thing that we've gotten out of it, and I say we because a lot of people in our department also follow my lead, is our retention rate's at 82% for our digital media department for this past year. And that's higher than pretty much every other department on our campus, especially when, I'll throw math under the table a little bit. They're like at 26% at our campus. There's problems. So everyone asks, well, how does it work? You know, how do you do this? I said, well, basically, I'm just recording everything I do in class. We are, our digital media department is really what we call a 2-2 system. So we have a 2-hour lecture, 2-hour lab, one night a week or one day a week. We don't break up into multiple days. And we're a very large department. We have about 37 classes and about 850 students. And we have 4 labs. So we have the room to run things one day a week, and it works really well. And that also helps with retention as well. Students can take 3 courses, 4 courses during a week and not have that. I don't know if any of you do it, that Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday. It's a mess for students for scheduling. So those two things combined, like with my class, I teach Introduction to Web Design on Monday nights, and I have seating for 30 people in my class. Usually I'm up around 42 with people scrunched into every corner we possibly can. And, you know, we lose 5 or 6 of them, a few of them throughout the semester. And I also teach the exact same course online. And so that class, my max, I've had 115 in that course. I've been averaging in the 60s usually. So it's a large factor class. And what I found was by teaching the exact same course on ground and teaching it online, all my stuff's the same. So I record my Monday night lecture. Tuesday morning it goes up for my online class. So I don't have to do the double work. I'm not creating standalone videos for my online courses anymore because what I teach with web design, like this past semester, any of you teach web design in here? We come from the graphic design standpoint. I'm not teaching code. Now I've done that at other schools. What we teach was Dreamweaver, Photoshop, and WordPress. I've now moved over to Muse and WordPress for my course because most of my students are graphic design. They have the background. How many of you know about Adobe Muse? And it's catching on. There's about 4 million users now in the world using Muse. And what Adobe Muse is, how many of you know about Dreamweaver? How many of you love Dreamweaver? Oh boy, hands start dropping real quick. Right? And I've used Dreamweaver for years and years and years. And, but Adobe Muse, sorry, my ACL stuff's coming out. What Adobe Muse is, it's drag and drop. So if you know design, you know Adobe Muse out of the box. There's really no difference because the team that created InDesign, the programming team, created Muse. Even the layout's just like InDesign. So for those of you who teach Adobe InDesign, your jump over to Muse is very simple. All this animation, all your CSS3, see all these wonderful things that are happening, all drag and drop. There is no code involved at all. So Adobe is really pushing this hard. This is that middle program that we've been looking for from the design world. Does it replace Dreamweaver? No, it doesn't. But is it an alternative for your design students to build interactive sites, stuff that they couldn't have done with Dreamweaver? Yes, it is. And it's becoming more and more powerful. The updates, and I know some of you, that's what I'm going to get yelled at tomorrow during our Adobe thing, is the updates. That's the first thing everyone yells at me about is the ACL, is, you know, stop it. We're looking at, last time I was at Adobe, every 2 weeks now, we're going to see major updates to the Adobe suite. And for those of you, that one happened the other day. There's 14 updates. So the changes happen so quick. I'm writing a book on this right now. I actually had to scrap about 6 chapters of the book during one update. It's nonstop. But anyway, this is what I teach at Golden West. I also have a background in print and also video and all that other stuff. So it's digital media now. When people ask what I do, I'm a digital media instructor. It's, you know, I'm not graphic design, I'm not just web design, I'm user interface, all these things roll up into one. And so getting back to what we're here for, on the video side of the world, now I don't have all the software on the PC. I am a Mac guy. I have my MacBook Air, I do all my stuff on the Mac. But there are alternatives, and I have a list. So instead of printing out a whole bunch of stuff and to keep it current, what I'm going to do is invite you to go to my website, It's the very first thing here with the nice Golden Gate Bridge. This is all the stuff I'm going to go over today. All my handouts, all the links, everything is here. Question? Yes. No, it's just my last name. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not paying attention here. So it's my last name, Glumace. I'll leave out some business cards as well. It's all in here. I'll just put it over here. So if you want one, grab it when you're going out. And so just to show you, I mean, my background, I came from print originally. I actually had an illustration background, so I came from originally oil, watercolor, and illustration. Realized pretty early on that I can't make any money painting landscapes and flowers, which is what my grandmother did. She actually taught me how to do all that. And so I moved into the commercial side of it, and I ended up working in print shops. I stripped film. I know how to run a stat camera. I've actually ran a linotype machine. It's that end of the world. I know. I actually still have California job cases in my office, things like that. Leading, real true leading, stuff that'll kill you. But that was my background. I moved in. In about 1995, I moved into the website. I taught myself HTML, all that wonderful stuff. How many of you remember PageMill? PageMill saved me. I don't know. As much as I don't mind coding, it's not my favorite thing to do. So I prefer to do the design side, the user interface design side. WordPress rolled around about 7 years ago. I've been teaching that now. Some of you have been to my WordPress stuff. I've done some up here in the Bay Area. I do some down in the LA area and Southern California area as well. And I'll show you some links to all my WordPress stuff. I've got a whole series that I did for the last couple of years under a couple of grants for educators using WordPress. So this is what I use for my site. I'll be honest, as an instructor, I now do about a 50-50 split in my classroom. My intro to web design class is half WordPress and then half Muse now. And I really put more emphasis on WordPress. About 99.9% of my students turn their finals in WordPress. They don't do it in Muse. So, but my goal is to get them up and running. And so WordPress makes it much easier on that end. The reason I bring that up is I put a link out there for you. I just put it up. Where'd it go? So this is last year's. So I did the exact same one last year. I stole it from you guys and threw it up on YouTube, make it a little easier for me. And we'll talk about the CC Confer as well. I have links to it, and we are recording that. So if you didn't know already, everything's being put out on the CC Confer, right? And is it going to go up on the YouTube site too? I think it did last year a little later. They dump it on the YouTube as well. So we're going to try to get out there. I'll have it. Once those are up, I'll put them up on my site as well, so I'll put everything in this one place for you. But last year, like I said, you can go and take a look at all my last year's stuff. A lot of it still is relevant. Some of it's duplicate. I do have a handout for this class as well. It's a PDF file. And then we're here at MPEC, so I'm not going to go through that link. But one of the things I did want to point out before I get into this is my WordPress videos. This actually was from, I'm trying to remember, October. So this was the one we did actually at my home school at Golden West. This is a big six-parter, and I also go through SEO as well, so it was over 2 days. So I cover all the introduction, how to install, how to set your server up, how to build out the site, how to do your themes, how to do plugins, how to do all those settings. Then we went over really the WordPress SEO plugin and how to set all that up as well. Search engine optimization. Sorry about that. But yeah, all the search engine optimization stuff as well. So it's kind of a big package. It's 6 videos. I think it's probably around 9 hours worth of stuff here. But I'm always updating these too. So if you hit my site and I do one, I think in a couple of weeks I'm doing another one. I just keep re-rolling them over. And that's why I do these videos. It's so much changes. I talked about Muse. I talked about WordPress. A new version of WordPress comes out every few weeks now, or a few months. There's always something changing. And it used to be we were on an 18-month cycle with Adobe. We're down to 2 weeks a month. And there are major changes. The last workshop I ran in Photoshop, my lab wasn't updated, but my instructor station was. It was different. We were missing stuff in the new update. They had moved it all and hid it behind stuff. So I'm in there telling her, oh, click here, do this, do that. And I looked around. No one had the tools anymore. They had went and buried them somewhere. And they, most of us can't keep up with it. And so getting back to the video side of it, that's why I like to record every semester. If I go and record, let's say, a big 20-part series on Photoshop, chances are by the time my next semester rolls around, they're still good videos, but they throw that roadblock up for students. they can't find a tool. Something's not working. And the other side of this, too, is if you're doing this, you're archiving your older stuff. And as many of you know, if you're teaching in the digital media area, you've got students who have not updated to the Creative Cloud. They're still running CS6. They got CC that they bought and didn't go with the subscription. And we've got 4 or 5 flavors of programs floating around out there. And even with Microsoft now, you got Office 365, you got the other Office Live, you got all these different things that are out there. And students either are getting it free or maybe they're downloading, whatever it may be. So you've got a mix of people outside your classroom with all kinds of different platforms that they're working on. So how do you deliver as much as you possibly can to them? I found this is the easiest way, because if I have someone who's using CS6, I have a whole series of CS6 videos on YouTube still. So I just go, here's the links. This will match to what you're doing. It's a little different than what we're doing in the classroom. Sorry, but if you're not going to upgrade, at least I can still service you to a point. I really push, though, hard. It's $20 a month for the Adobe stuff now. And I tell students, I go, look, it's like if you're taking an automotive class, you got to have your own tools. So you just got to go out and pay for it, bite the bullet at some point. I know a lot of them, they go, I can't. We have open labs. But at least with the videos, they can go in the open lab, watch them again. The other side of this, too, now is with your Xboxes and all of your Roku and Google and everything else. I'm finding that I have students who have a laptop at home. They'll work on their laptop, and they're streaming all my stuff through YouTube on their big screen TV. So they're watching and listening that way, and then they're working on my computer. And I didn't realize that until really about a year or two ago, that my students were doing that. And that works out real well. So now they got 2 screens. So if you're doing this and you have stuff up on YouTube, you go, hey, you got a Blu-ray player at home, you probably have YouTube or it's connected, or if you have an Xbox or those types of things, you have a second monitor now that you can watch the videos on, play them through and go with it. So all my videos, too, I post everything in here, so I break everything down by, I also teach at Concordia University. I teach the exact same class, so it makes my life pretty easy. And we're on the same schedule, too. We're only off by 1 week. So I get to teach the exact same thing in 2 places at the same time. But the videos end up being a little different there as well. And what I found is going into a semester, you get the students to start emailing you, right? Going, what do I need to buy? What book do I need to do? What can I do to get ahead? And I get a lot of those. And what I do is I just email on my site. I go, look, here's all of last semester stuff. And it's pretty similar to what we're going to do now. You want to get ahead? You can get the whole semester done if you wanted to beforehand. And even with the minor changes or even sometimes major changes, at least it gives them a leg up when they walk into the classroom. I'll be honest, too, I've eliminated all my textbooks this way as well. All my stuff's optional. I have a couple textbooks. I go, yeah, if you really want to just work, like I have a couple assignments out of a book. I go, if you really want to buy it, go ahead. And it's $50 to $80 for the book. I go, if you don't, it's all here. It's all on YouTube. You're going to find it. Because most students are going to go out and do this anyway. They're going to be on YouTube trying to find the answers. Hopefully, that's what I want them to do, is go find their own answers at some point. But at least I have all my stuff up there, too, that aligns up with my curriculum in the classroom. So I have all this. Like I said, even today we're recording this. I like to record every single thing I do. Some instructors are not comfortable with that. I got way beyond that, and it just makes my life easier. Question? Yes, Blackboard. So actually, let me show you what we do on Blackboard. So my online class that I teach and my on-ground class, I run a concurrent Blackboard for both of them. They're identical. I don't collect anything in classroom anymore. They have to submit all the stuff to Blackboard. That's just for record keeping. It makes my life a lot easier. See if I remember my password. It's the problem with passwords now. Everything's saved. Come on, work. Yeah, it worked. So we use Blackboard at Golden West. And I also use Blackboard over at Concordia. It's the exact same version. So what I like to do, and without going off on a huge tangent here, I have a cartridge built already for my class. And so every semester I just roll my cartridge. Well, you know how you roll your class? I built out a full cartridge for my class. And so I don't pull over last year's stuff because things change. And I do that and if I go teach at another school, I just keep rolling that same cartridge over and over again. Yeah, and you can actually build out a cartridge in it. My publisher that I've been working with on my Muse book, we're building that out. So if you bought our book, or you bought my video series, really what it is, I can deliver the cartridge with all the quizzes and everything in it. So if you've ever gotten a book, if you teach other subjects and you import it in, you import the cartridge in or you import the grouping in for Blackboard. Let's see here. This is the newest version. I don't remember the number or the name, but we just upgraded. So I don't want to spend a ton of time on this unless you really want me to, but this is how I set up my Blackboard. All my videos are on the home page. So I do them all through YouTube, and I embed them all on the home page, so there's absolutely no reason a student come and go, I didn't see a video from last week. I go, well, they're all here. There you go, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I try to keep everything on the home page. There's assignments and those types of things in the back end. But this is how I deliver it all. I also use Google Drive. I'm not going to log in because I got the double stuff going on, but I put everything on Google Drive. Actually, sorry, I can't get to it from here. This is what this was actually in my handout. I talk about Google Drive and get a little ahead of myself. But this is my Google Drive. And so I upload the original MOV files, which are big. Sometimes they're up to a gig, 2 gigs, because I do everything in high def when I'm capturing. So all my class videos are here as well. So if they don't want to watch it on YouTube and they want to download the actual physical files, I allow them to do that from my Google Drive as well. So I use Google Drive for all my storage. At our school, the Blackboard people that run it specifically asked me not to upload anything anymore to the server, because I was accounting, I think, at one point for 30% of all the storage on their server. And I mean, if you think about it, I've been doing the online classes for, I think, for 11 years, and they never deleted any of my stuff, and it was just piling up. And so by doing this, I buy the terabyte. I think it's $6 a month. So it's like $6 a month for a terabyte of storage, and it's all synced. It's like Dropbox. Dropbox is another option. So if you have Dropbox as well, you can use Dropbox. Any of them will work. I like the Google one because they'll actually, if they just want to watch the videos here, they'll play as well. So it converts it just like YouTube. And then my other thing is, for any of you who are teaching video editing, audio, you got huge files that you have to submit out to your students. We had some issues in our labs with file servers. We were really not able to share out stuff in our labs. We're still on a 10-100 network in our digital media area. And so for those of you who know, it slows. You know, we're trying to push a 1 gig file to 30 people. It's not something you want to do. So what we do is we put everything in Google Drive. Most of the instructors have adopted it. And even the ones who don't pay for Google Drive, there's still more than enough room for them to share everything out. So as part of the whole video, once I produce the videos, which I haven't talked about yet, this is my primary delivery method using Blackboard, or I'll just send this link out to my students, say, hey, everything's on Google Drive, it's all shared, go for it. Now, a lot of you may be in Google, your campus may have adopted Google. I don't know for storage, and a lot of times it's unlimited for the schools. So if you're going to use that, great, don't pay for it. Our campus did not. We went Microsoft, but the students are on Google. So we went with a split system, and I did not want to even try that. So it was easier for me to pay the $6 a month and go with it. But that's, in terms of delivery for the videos, this is what I found to be the easiest. You just copy and paste in your embed code and go at it. And I like to put everything on the home page. That way, if I was, like I said, there's no questioning where my stuff is with the students. Question? No, it will play. So this is a link. Well, it's an embed code from YouTube. I don't like cats. This whole semester ended up being cats for our web stuff. So, but there's we just got lots of cats in there. But what this is, to answer your question again, I upload these videos to YouTube. So I record them, I upload the video to YouTube, and I embed it in Blackboard. So there's no actual upload of files. It's just basically it's just an iframe that's pushing from YouTube. Also to Vimeo. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but Vimeo is my other one. I use a paid version of Vimeo, but there is a free one. Vimeo, if I can type this there. Yes. That's a good question. I'm going to get to it in a second. Vimeo is my other delivery method. I like Vimeo. The problem is, goes to the question you just asked, closed captioning. Vimeo does not close caption on the fly. So this is just another storage area for me. It's an option for students. Also, too, I get into the whole search engine stuff. I want to make sure people are finding my things, so I'm doing it in both places to make sure that's happening. But let me get back here, because look what my second thing is, closed captioning. So closed captioning. On our campus, we only have 2 people who work in our student or disabilities office, and we do not have anyone that does captioning at all. The person went on medical leave, they never replaced them. So if we have a complaint, then we caption what's needed. I hate to say it, I know that may not be the legal way of doing it, but that's what we're stuck with on our campus. What we found though is, at least with me, YouTube does a very good job with translating my stuff and doing the captioning. So going back and looking at any of these videos that I have up, we do have subtitles, closed captioning. Nope. All you have to do is upload the file and it automatically does it. If you transcribe it, I don't do that. YouTube handles it by itself. So if you speak clearly and you speak English, then it does well. If you have an accent and you don't, other languages it will, but it's accents. But you can teach it as well. Yeah, and you can go in and edit it and then export a new text file. Sorry, question back. It doesn't, and that's one of my problems. Like I'll say HTML, and sometimes you get weird things, or FTP, and it dumps out weird things. Yeah, and it's one of these issues that we all need to do this. I'll be very honest, and I'll probably get in trouble. Like I said, we deal with it on a one-by-one basis. And I have had students who have needed it done, and we go out and have it done for the videos that are needed. But I've actually had some partially deaf students who said, no, it's fine. And there was no complaints, and they were more than happy with it. So, but the other thing is if you do transcribe it, create a text file in YouTube, and sync it up, and then actually have the transcribe file. I've had some other people transcribe and then post the text file. I'll be honest, we just go with the YouTube for the moment. We haven't had any issues. If we do, we try to nip them in the butt right away and work with the person. So, but for the closed captioning, and then CC Confer has a closed captioning service, correct? But it's free, but it's under grant, but then sometimes you have to pay for it too. Yeah. Exactly. My turnaround too, like for me, my turnaround though is like the next day in a lot of my stuff too. That's my other issue with my classes. So the answer to the closed captioning, YouTube does a decent job. I'm not going to say it does a great job. It really depends on how you speak. How many of you use Google Voice? Maybe you use Google Voice? Google Voice is awesome. It replaces your voicemail and transcribes all your voicemail and sends you emails and does all that. That's part of this technology. It's learning. And that's part of the whole learning process. I know someone's at Google does some of that. And they go, yeah, we're using your voicemail to teach this. Question? I actually use the Mac. We have 27-inch iMacs, and I use the phone on the iMac. I do not wear anything. It makes it really easy. On my laptop, I use the built-in on the MacBook Air. And now, if you're on a PC, you may or may not have it. Now, there are some very good mics. We're going to talk about audio, so I'll leave that to her in the second part of this. But you can go out and buy very good mics for under $100, plug in USB, and do it as well. But what I found in the classroom setting, it's all there. And all we do is run the software, whatever capturing software you use, and let the internal mic. Because it does a good job dampening out everything else around you, too. So. This is about as far as I can go away from my computer. Yeah. And I'm loud. I mean, so it's okay. Sometimes it's almost too loud in my... That's using the internal microphone. I like to stand when I teach, so this is about the distance I am from my Mac. PCs, you may not have the built-in mic, so you're going to have to look for a microphone, something to plug in. I know someone who uses their Bluetooth earpiece from their phone. They sync their Bluetooth to their PC, and they just load their earpiece. And then they can walk around the room and work on it. Yes, and that's actually a really good point. I sometimes forget to do that. So like in this case, the question was, do you repeat questions? If I don't, it sounds like I go off on bizarro tangents in the middle of a conversation. And I tell my students that too. I go, remind me. In the classroom too, I mean, it's pretty happening here. You raise your hand, I call on you. I mean, it's rare that I get people blurt out. By week 2, in the classroom setting, most people figure out what I'm doing. and I can just go through 2 hours. And if you notice my videos, an hour and 10 minutes. I actually have a 5-hour one on here I did once because I missed a couple classes. I was traveling. I came back, I told everyone, I go, look, just let me do my thing. And people laughed. I mean, like towards the end, I had like 2 people left. I said, and most of the people said, no problem, I'll watch it later. And that's the other thing is if you get people who miss classes, all of that, I don't care. I tell them, I go, I don't care if you're sick, I don't care if your dog's sick, I don't care if your house burned down, I just don't care. Those are you problems, not me problems. I don't remember everyone's name either. So you come, you email me, I don't know who you are. I really don't. And then my online people, I have absolutely no idea who they are. And so I said, look, everything's there. If you really want to learn this, I'm giving you the opportunity to catch up. And to be very honest, like I said, our retention rate's very high. And that's because if they miss a week or 2, they don't freak out. Like, oh, I'm going to fail this class. It's like, no, it's there. Just go online. Rena does it with her online class. It's the same thing. It's just if they miss a few weeks or they're behind, I've given them everything I possibly can. I can leave in the water. I can try to make them drink, but at least it's always there for them to look here. And that helps with people who kind of vanish for a couple of weeks. I get people too, we have a lot of working people, and so they're like, hey, my kids are, yeah, there's a million reasons they can't. It opens up the door for them to succeed. Question? Yes, you can. You can go in and actually edit. You can download it as a text file, edit it, clean it up. And I think they have a tool that you can edit in live, real time too, in YouTube. Yes. Yes, you can go back and edit it in. So like if you have acronyms and things like that, you could fix those. Sorry. Yeah, I'm going to jump to that right now. So, sorry, another question. No. I'm lucky. All the software I teach is the same on Mac and PC. So I do everything on the Mac, and I just tell everyone, hey, when I say, command, it's control. And we haven't had any problems with that at all. Now, if you are teaching software that is different on both, then you're going to run into that issue. You may have to create 2 different videos. But with the Adobe suite, visually it looks a little different, but not that different. Everything else is the same across the board for us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I do. So I've done that in the past where I taught classes only online. I just sit down and pump out a video every week. Rena can talk about that too a little bit when she does. She teaches Final Cut class only online. So she just sat down and created videos for each week, and then that was how it would look the same, act the same. It's just very specific. They will be shorter though. I will say that when I teach in the classroom, there's questions, all these things. They eat up time. Where if I sat down, I can maybe pump through it in 25 minutes without any distractions. So sometimes those are shorter. And the other question too. Sorry, question in the back before I move on. Yes, I don't, but that is one of the options here. So let me jump into all the software right now. So probably the easiest one out there and the cheapest is Apple QuickTime. So if you download QuickTime, there is an option, and my link's not working, so let me copy it and paste it. I put the instructions up here just because it's easier than for me to explain it. So here you go. You do a new screen recording. You pick your microphone, pick screen, hit and go. And that's all you need to do. And you can download QuickTime for free. So QuickTime, and the files are gorgeous. The stuff it generates is the best stuff you're going to get. They are big files, though. So that is the downside to all this, is you end up with very large files, but they work great with YouTube. You upload, boom, they're ready to render out. Yeah, the smaller ones. I actually suggest going, if you have the storage, stick with 1080 because you never know what you're going to use your videos for in the future. You might have to, like say you're going to do a TV show or something. If you did it all in 1080, you'll be able to give it to your editor and they'll be able to edit it and use it and not end up with little fuzzy stuff. So, question? I like Final Cut, but you can use Final Cut and pretty much any of the different video editing software out there should work for that. You said you're adding actual chapter markers, right? Okay, yeah, Camtasia has it built in on that end of it. On the Mac side, I'll be honest, I never liked Camtasia on the Mac. I think it's a piece of, I won't go there. But Oh, okay, let's see. We moved up in the world. And that's one of the reasons why when my Mac users, I'm like, nah, QuickTime's your best bet just out of the box. You already have everything you need. You have your microphone, you have your Mac, you launch QuickTime, you go new screen recording, and you're done. And you can just start rendering out your stuff. And the render times are really quick too. And that's another thing with software. Depending on what software you use, let me jump back here on the software side. So QuickTime is the easiest, the quickest, it's the free option. I'll fix this link for you here sometime today. The other one is Google Hangouts on air, or Google Hangouts. How many of you use Google Hangouts? You can record your screen and your audio, and it will dump directly to YouTube. It will automatically just dump it into your YouTube account. So you can actually launch Google Hangouts, and it's called On Air. This you can do live, which is really cool if you're doing an online class and you want to do a live chat, let's say with your students and everything else, and you want to record it all and dump it in. This does it all for you, and it's free. Now, there is other software. Blackboard kind of has something that does this as well, but what I found is this one's pretty much the easiest and most straightforward, and chances are your student has a Gmail account, either through the school or their personal, so they'll be able to jump in the chat as well. The downside of this is it really doesn't generate a really high-res file. It's built for the web. So if you're just putting stuff up on YouTube and that's all you're ever going to do, it's a great tool for that. Mac or PC too. And same thing with QuickTime. It's Mac or PC, so it isn't just. Now Camtasia, there is a Mac and PC version. I think it's still 99 bucks. I should check before I tell everyone. So this is Camtasia, it's screen recording, and it also has a built-in video editor as well. And like I said, we were kind of going back and forth. The Mac, I'm still not a fan of the Mac side of it. But you can do the chapter markers, on-screen stuff. Oh, on the QuickTime, there is an option that will turn on your cursor to show you where you're clicking as well in QuickTime. And same thing with Camtasia. Most of the software I'm talking about will have that. Does Camtasia do, it does key commands too, correct, on the PC? Show on-screen key commands. So when you do Command Shift or any of those, it will show at the bottom as well. And that's a big thing, especially for students if they're distance learners. All of a sudden, magic things happen because I'm all keyboard commands when I work, and I forget to call out my keyboard commands. I'm just like copy paste, and nothing gets removed, but everything changed on screen. So it's nice to have that reference on screen that will pop up and show the key commands as well. Question, Mac? Yeah, I think the Mac is very stripped down. It's not well supported is probably the best way to put it. Okay, yeah, and all the Mac stuff does that as well. So you can do that on a couple of the others I'm going to show you here in a second. It will do both in-system as well as microphone. So if you're playing music or a video, you can capture the audio that's coming from the computer as well as what your voiceover is together. And some of these don't, like Google Voice or the Google Hangouts does have that option, but it hasn't been working right because I've tried it and you get garbled. Things get garbled in the audio. So it's about $100. I think it might be a little more or less. This is my preferred though, and I'm sorry, it is a Mac only. It's called iShowU HD. It's a high def recorder. It has, and you can kind of see the capture for web here. It's got tons and tons of options. If you're going to edit these into professional video, this is what I suggest going with. It will actually do, not QuickTime, ProRes. It will render out in full ProRes. So for those who use Final Cut, it's just drag and drop into Final Cut, no rendering times. So it's a great piece of software. It's only $50. This is what I use in all my labs. So I own it, but I install it on my instructor stations that I bounce around on. I use it at home. It will do the follow. It can just do one part. So if you just want to capture one small part and do some notes, it'll do the full screen. It does all the different capture sizes and everything else. And it has auto output videos. So it'll automatically do it for Vimeo, YouTube. It'll do the right codecs, and it'll compress it down before you upload. It will actually upload directly to all the services as well. So there's a lot of things going on in this software. But at a basic, you can just go in and say capture full screen, capture microphone, go at it, and it'll work. And the render time is the other part of this. I used to use another piece of software, and it was almost a 1-to-1 render ratio. So if it was an hour-long video, it took an hour to render. My average video is about an hour and 10 minutes, about 40 seconds of rendering time. Yes, instant ProRes. So the other problem with this is you got to have a little power to run the software. So we've got 16s, and they're a little bit older. So, but like on my desktop at work, I've got 32, and it screams with this. And they have a video editing software too in the Pro version, like Camtasia, where you can do notes and intros and build out your templates. So if you want to template out your videos, unlike me, I'm lazy. I just dump the hour-long video online and just go at it. But if you want to add an intro or add music or add other things into it, they have, where is it? It's called Studio, iShowU Studio. And if you notice, it looks like most other editors. And it has a lot of tools. But what's really nice about this one is there's a lot of interactivity. Where Final Cut, you could do it, but you got to know what you're doing. This is very drag and drop and build out. So it's a little like Camtasia's video editing tools. And I think it comes all packaged in. Last time I bought it, I just got everything. Oh, don't buy the old one. iShowU. It's for standard def for old stuff. A lot cheaper. It's only like 19 bucks. It does a good job, but you end up with very square videos. There's no widescreen or 1080 ratio. One of my other instructors at another school found out that the hard way. They started recording things and things were cut off, and it wasn't doing what they wanted to do. This is, like I said, what I prefer. It's what I use all day long, and it really comes down to render times, where I can stop. Oh, and it has a really good pause and restart feature. And that's another thing. I like to just talk and lecture, but a lot of other instructors do like to walk around and help and do stuff. This one, you just hit pause, go do your stuff, come back, and it actually has all the little warning labels at the top, so it tells you it's in pause mode. Hit record, key command it, and you're good to keep going. And it doesn't crash. That was my other thing. I had another software that you can pause, but you were running the risk of crashing. The longer it sat, the more likely you were to crash. Because I think it buffers in memory. It's chewing up the internal memory to store everything. And it does do a huge cache. So you've got to have a big hard drive. It's caching in real time. And that's why you get the quick render times at the end. And it does delete the cache. For those who know what I'm talking about, it's basically putting a temporary file on the hard drive. And the few times it has crashed, you got to go in and delete that file because it's like 4.5 gig. Yeah. So this stuff, it depends on how big your videos are. If you go and make a smaller one, then you're not dealing with that. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it big, and then that way I always have the big files for me to use. Yes, with Yosemite. Yes, I'm running it in Yosemite. Yeah, 10.7 and later. And then there was some issues with Mountain Lion. They changed the audio inputs, and it wreaked havoc with audio. Marina, you had issues with this with the external microphones, right? Yeah, so it depends on sometimes the mic. But internal, which most of you probably would end up doing or something similar, runs great. Yes? No, forever. So it's just buying software. It's none of that subscription stuff that everyone's going to. And they haven't, they put out some major updates, and they just send me a little link that says, do you want to update to the newest version? I'm going, yeah, go ahead. Oh, if you do use the software, don't update to the beta version. I've gotten burned on that one, especially with the new OSs. That's where things just don't work right. The other one is Snaps Pro. This is an older piece of software, and it actually doesn't work anymore with 1010. And this is what I used for years, and this was my rendering issue. It does a really nice job, does some beautiful work, it does high res, but it renders slow. And so luckily I taught at night. I would let it run overnight in the lab, and then the next morning I'd come grab my file. That's how bad it was. And so I moved away from it, and it's actually more expensive too. But I throw it out there if you're on an older Mac for whatever reason, because sometimes your labs may not be the newest equipment. This runs really well on older Macs. The other one doesn't. If you got a 3, 4, 5-year-old Mac, you might be running some issues that I show you. There's another one here too. This one's free, and some of you may use it. I have a few people out there that have it. It's called Screencast-O-Matic. They also have a download, and you can just start recording right online. And this is Mac and PC. It's a Java base, if not mistaken. And so it is free. Yeah. Yeah, so you can run it pretty much anywhere at any time. Yeah. So I throw this one out there. It's great. It's free. You know, especially if you're in a PC lab, an older PC, this might be your best option out there, even over QuickTime. Yeah, there's the, sorry, question in the back. Oh. So you get both. Yeah. So I mean, so about 15 bucks here. It's totally worth it at that price. So, 10 minutes? Okay. So I throw this one out here because it's great if you have an older PC, you're running different stuff, or you might have locked. The other thing too is we had an issue with this at Concordia in one of our PC labs. They had locked down those PCs so much they couldn't run the JavaScript stuff. So that was, yeah, it was, I don't know what they were doing in that lab, but there were some issues with that too. And that also goes for the Google stuff. I've actually run into that on some of the older, especially IE. You start running into some little issues there. So it's finding something you like, try them out, do a short video, you know, a couple minutes, see what it outputs, do you like the output, and then the big thing is getting it up on YouTube and seeing how it renders out on YouTube. I'm really going to push to the YouTube side of this, is get it up on YouTube, you're going to get the free closed captioning, you're going to get traffic, unless you make it, you know, private. All my stuff's public, so if you go into YouTube and just type in my name, I get weird emails from all over the place. People are like, they're asking me questions about my videos I did like 3 years ago. They're like, oh, in this video you did this and this and this. I'm like, I have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. And they're like, oh, you talked about this in your week 6 video in 2012 and this. I'm like, yeah, that was like 3 years ago. Don't worry about it. And they're not in my classes. They're people just finding my stuff and playing through. So I get it. This was, sorry, that was student stuff. At least 5 or 10 a day. I mean, and also too for my website. I get people who get in there and then they start watching all my stuff. And it's usually not from the United States. I'm getting people from all over the world. But you can see here, I got, I don't know how many. Where's my playlist? So I got all my playlists broken down. I do it by a semester, so I create a playlist per semester and get them all in there. Question back. No, I really just do MOVs or my ProRes, and then I get them up to here, and this is the way I try to deliver everything. And the big reason is, you know, it's easy to stream. That's my biggest issue, is just so they can play it on their tablets and everything else. But stay away from Flash. I mean, I'm a Flash advocate, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's going in a whole other direction than what we think it is. It's going back to animation and things like that. And then that's getting into Adobe Edge and doing stuff for HTML5 and CSS3. So I stay away from Flash. And the big thing is it's never going to play on these things, on the iPhones and all that. So delivering a format, the MOV format or the M4, I have to deliver my publisher, was it M4V, right? Yeah, M4V format. So I convert it usually. But I still prefer, with iShowU, I do ProRes usually, just because it's quicker to work with. Yeah, ProRes is a codec for Final Cut. It's just a package around the video. The big thing with that is quick render times. So if you drop your video in, you're not waiting for it to render out to actually start previewing. Question? Mm-hmm. No. Yes. So, and actually in my class, we don't do tests. Everything's project-based. So all of my stuff is project-based. I have assignments. Those assignments are do this, build this. So I'm not testing them like any type of written test or multiple choice test or anything like that. Now for the Muse book I'm doing, yes, I am creating those because my other instructors want them. But they have to watch my videos every week. Everything's in there. It's just, for my online class, it's just like those students coming for those 2 hours for my lecture on Monday night. And it's worked real well, to be honest. Question? Yes, I build all my own assignments and everything. So, and I've done that pretty much since day one. Because I taught InDesign for years. I taught Photoshop, Illustrator, all my web classes. Everything I do is project-based. Everything's based around your portfolio. Even my intro classes, I'm trying to get them something at least to get going with. No, No, I got so far away from written material because of the changes. I have on my WordPress, if you go on my site and go into the WordPress stuff on my site for you, I have like a 100-page handout that I created for WordPress. I finished it. I ran 2 workshops. 3.0 came out, all new interface. And I was just like, I'm not doing screen caps anymore. You know, like I had to sit there and rewrite. I'm like, I'm finished with this. No. And if this is more than enough, and what I tell them is, I go, what I do today is probably going to change in 6 months. So the problem is, if I give you a book, or if I give you one of our textbooks that a lot of us use, which is Against the Clock, they got burned by Adobe. My Against the Clock book for Dreamweaver, when the new one came out for 2014, 3 of the assignments were undoable anymore because the tools changed so dramatically, and so the books were behind. And I said, that's it. I'm done with trying to play catch up with Adobe. We have a recommended. No, we recommend a textbook. We still do. I'm not saying there's no, and actually we could, at Glumace, we could say no textbook. I always recommend. Yeah. We recommend it, and the first thing I tell everyone is, it's yours to read if you want to go buy it. And most of our textbooks are under $40, so it's not horrible. You know, it's not like a $200 textbook. Yeah, or you can rent the books. Even my textbook manufacturers are, like I was saying, they're playing catch up. The books are not matching what we're doing at all. And a lot of them are moving to video stuff. Like the Muse thing I'm doing is mostly video. And that way, if something new comes out, I can switch the videos out quickly. Sorry, a question back first. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yes. And actually, we did this semester with our DSN, Gustavo Tremor down there. We did a portfolio day where we brought in our agencies as well as my 4-year schools, and they brought all their stuff from class. In terms of digital media, they brought in their iPads or their Android tablets, and that was how they presented. My print people brought in all their print stuff. They also brought in all their digital stuff. Our program is really geared towards building a portfolio. We have a portfolio class. We actually have a capstone. We have 2 of them actually in our department. And so those classes are either going to transfer or build a portfolio. My goal in the intro class is they build a portfolio site. So that is my end goal. My final project is, you guys need to build a portfolio site. Now some of them go, I want to build a cat site. I go, fine, build your cat site. I'm not going to tell you. What I found was, especially web design, if I tell them to do something, they just don't put their heart into it. So I'd rather have them be passionate about what they're doing. And so I tell them, I go, look, you're really going through a program. You have all this work you did in Rena's classes or some of the other classes that we've had. We need to put it together and build out your portfolio site. And what's great about the web design side is, if they're video people, they're audio people, they're putting their stuff up on SoundCloud and YouTube, we can bring it over very easily into their portfolio. And then also, too, talking about portfolios, I'm a huge proponent of this, especially since I work for them, but sorry for the Adobe stuff, but Behance. You guys, if you're doing any type of visual work, your students should be creating a Behance account, an Adobe account, and they should have their stuff up here. It's a huge community. It's a real simple system. You come in, and this is what it looks like. So if all they have to do is send out the link to their Behance account if they're going out for jobs and everything else. If they're not, let's say you really are teaching graphic design, you get a student who's like, I really don't like this web stuff. Even though they understand they have to know it, they could still build what they have and have a professional site. There's an app on the iPhone, Android, and the iPhone, is a portfolio app that links to Behance. So they're carrying their portfolio with them all the time. So if they're talking to someone, they pull it, instead of going into like their photos and, you know, they pull up their Behance, they start showing their work. And so it's free. There's no charge to this at all. It's part of their adobe.com account, which they can get for free. Behance. B-E-H-A-N-C-E. And so a good way to integrate this into your classroom, and this is the last thing, and we can ask more questions at Rena too. We're going to roll into the next one. The big thing here is the students are getting their stuff up. If you're teaching intro classes, have them do this first. And then they put up all their stuff. It may not be all professional stuff, but they can start. And my whole thing is when I taught portfolio classes, I go, look, all your work is not going to be your best work to start with, but we can rotate out and in your work. And you get to see your progression as well. And as an instructor, if someone walked in and said, hey, this is all the work I've done the last 4 classes, it's a good overview for the instructor to say, this is where you are, this is where you've gone, this is what we need to work on. It's a nice centralized place, and it's all part of the Adobe stuff too. Yeah, they can go and create an account and put up the work they did in high school and start there. And then they take Adobe Illustrator and they do a bunch of logos and they draw some stuff. Those replace the next ones. And they can hide them. So they can hide their work from the public, and that way all their work's in there as well, and they have everything in one place. So one last question, and then Serena's turn. Sorry. Ooh. Are you talking about just like working on this type of whiteboard? You know, I haven't really thought about that. My guess would be, I mean, if you could, go buy one of those little tripods, shoot off your phone. That'd probably be the first thing I do. And that's one thing to think about too, is you've got tools here that can work. I've actually done it where I actually just recorded the screen and posted things, because that was all I had. So it's the easiest way to do something. So, all right. Yeah.
Capture the screen, and you can also have a second video.
Screen type thing. Oh, you know what this is? Okay, it's switching unit. It's a switcher too. So yeah, it's. You got a little thing you plug it into the screen adapter. So anyway, I can answer more questions too later. More for time.